go. Okay. Greetings and salutations, internet fans of podcasts. This is Cocktails and Curveballs. We'd like to welcome you all here. We've got four of the most insanely crazy people ever. We got Pat, we got Tyler, and we got Big Jim. We're all here just doing our thing for you. First things first on this show, we always give props and just appreciation for all of our men and women in uniform that serve in the armed forces, because without you guys protecting us and our freedom, we can't do this shit. So thank you guys for that. And also, on a side note, all first responders, all the men and women in blue, all the people that are there when we need them for any kind of emergency, big kudos and thank you to you guys. Okay. So first things first, guys, before we really get rolling, we like to do every now and again, we'll have a little bit of a kind of a go off rant. So I feel like we all live in a state where we experience some cold weather, some high variations in temperatures, right? Well, it's colder than shit where I'm at in Montana. It's yesterday I was watching a football game, -4 degrees. The thing that pisses me off, we are in a highly technologically advanced world. Hell, smartphones, smart TVs, they have completely fully computerized vehicles with sensors that tell you, hey, you're drifting, and it'll correct you for you. The thing that pisses me off, every fucking vehicle that I have owned, there has to be somebody out there, some Ford, GM, hell, Toyota for that matter, that can do something a little bit better with these goddamn TPS sensors, tire pressure sensors. You've got a phone that can learn, oh, hey, you're searching a lot of recipes for hamburgers, and it'll start throwing shit at you. Why the hell can't they teach one of these like, hey, the temperature just dropped 80 degrees. Your tire pressure is going to drop at least 4 to 5 degrees, so it doesn't put that goddamn light on your dash, making it look like a Christmas tree. It drives me nuts. Every year, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the tires. You get them on the highway, you get them heated up, they come right back to good. But those goddamn lights drive me nuts. Sorry, guys. That's my thing. And I had to get that off my chest because it's old. Anyway, and that's not going to change until we get back to summer over here. So, but anyway, so a couple of things that I kind of wanted to bring up, and I've been dealing with this with my sports teams all the time. I would like to know what you guys, in your opinion, some of the worst or most just bonehead professional contracts ever signed by pick an athlete. I don't care what league, what sport, but you know there's some mad money that is being completely just floated around to some people because they feel like they might be able to play and they just never materialize. And my teams, I got a ton of them. But this one, I really want to get you guys' take before I go off and start lighting up my own team. So, Pat, you think about some of those contracts and some of the shitty things that you have seen. Where do you go on that? What are some of the biggest ones in your brain?
Well, there's, I mean, you could go countless different directions. I'm gonna tweak that a little bit because this contract I'm about to bring up, it's still lunacy. It's still I don't think should have ever happened by neither the ball club or the respective player. And it has nothing to do with performance because this name I'm getting ready to mention is historically great and is not anywhere near done. But I'm going to say Mike Trout. Because the money that the Angels threw Mike Trout, and both directions, okay? One, I think Mike Trout, if you were to sit him down and put him on truth serum, I think he would tell you he regrets signing that contract. Because effectively what he did is he took himself out of ever playing in the playoffs. I mean, will Angels ever make the playoffs? I don't know that they will. And they got him for 13 years. And don't get me wrong, I'm a Mike Trout guy, man. I think Mike Trout is, and what makes me sad about this whole contract is that people will never know how good Mike Trout is because history is made in the postseason. It's not made during the season, man. Reggie Jackson is known for one thing: 3 home runs, 3 home runs in a game, and Mr. October, how he mashed during the playoffs. Who gives a shit that Mike Trout? I mean, it's still great. I'm not discounting that, but who really gives a shit? He goes out and hits 330 during the season, jacks 52 home runs, 140 RBIs, swipes 30 bases. That's cool, but no one's ever going to see that when the lights come on, man. And then you flip it to the Angels. This is the stuff that gets GMs fired, man, and they'll never get another GM job. Do people stop and imagine what they could have traded Mike Trout for when his contract came up?
Oh, good.
You could have rebuilt your farm system. You could have rebuilt your team. They could have set Angels up for the next 10 to 15 years on what they could have got for Mike Trout. And if you're Mike Trout, why didn't you listen? He would have got that money regardless of where he went to. He didn't have to get it from the Angels. He could have. Are you kidding me? There's 10 teams right now that would have thrown him that kind of change, and they would have been, and then they're routinely in the playoffs every year. So I don't know why he signed that contract. I mean, really? Okay. Anyways, I think it was just a boneheaded move by the Angels to offer that kind of dough instead of dangle him. Just see offers. I think the offers would have been nothing short of a king's ransom. And I think the fact that Mike Trout took the money from the Angels, it makes me sad.
Well, the kicker is, I agree, but the kicker on that too, if you think about it, I love that because there are teams like the Yankees, they don't mind paying that luxury tax. I mean, they will eat contracts that are stupid money.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
the Angels are not the Yankees. They cannot possibly put players around Mike Trout to build a winner.
That's my point.
Well, and
that's my point. They threw all that money at him, and now you're signing 40-year-old pitchers because that's all you can afford. You're signing 38-year-old relievers that probably shouldn't even be in the bigs anymore. I mean, this is what they're left with because all their money's in Mike Trout. And you know what? I don't care about the Angels. It's not my team, and the GM, the owner is always going to be wealthy, but most importantly, it makes me sad for Mike Trout. Because who wouldn't want to see Mike Trout come to the plate, his team down by 2 runs, bottom of the 9th inning, bases loaded, bases juiced, and Mike Trout at the plate? You're not going to see that. Not with the Angels. And they got him for how many more years? So until the Angels eat a huge part of their contract, which is going to happen, by the way, I do predict the Angels are going to trade him. And when they do, they're going to eat a huge part of his salary because it's the only way they're going to unload him. And when that happens, then maybe Mike Trout will go to a winning ball club and actually experience playoff baseball. But why he signed that contract blows my mind. I think he thought at the time when he signed it that, they were maybe going to try to put together a winning team, which will never happen. And if you're the Angels, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What are they going to do with Ohtani when his contract comes up?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Well, it is, right?
Thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's just perhaps the dumbest. Okay, Machado, I get it. He went to a winning ball club. Harper, cool. Went to the Phillies. They just made it to the World Series. But these contracts, look what they did to Pujols. Gave him a 10-year contract. I mean, you mean to tell me that Pujols doesn't wish? I mean, maybe you wouldn't get it out of him, but okay, so you take $30 million less, stay in St. Louis, and you're in the playoffs every fucking year, man. I mean, what do you do? You took that money and what? You just watch the playoffs every year? That's got to sting. And Mike Trout, like I said, the whole situation just makes me sad. Best player in baseball, he's never going to sniff the postseason. Just sucks.
I completely, that is a complete travesty, actually, because if you are an Angels fan, I mean, I'm sorry, you are so jacked up because you have the most elite baseball player on the planet. Right. I mean, that's arguable, but it's not that arguable. The guy is incredible, but because it's the Angels, all that money being locked up, guess what you're not going to do? You're not going to sign that premier pitcher free agent because you can't afford them.
Not even a
You
good
don't-
one. Not
No.
even a good one.
You can't even get middle of the road. But I think you're
No.
right. If they had traded him, oh man, they could rebuild that entire organization.
I mean, for the next 10 years, that would have set up that franchise for the next 10 years of baseball.
Oh, guaranteed. What about you, Tyler? What are you thinking on this? Bad contracts.
Yeah, that one's really interesting to me. Just because of Mike Trout being so elite, you would think whoever pays him, is going to be a good contract. But no, that one is really interesting. The couple that stand out to me, the one I remember the most is that Albert Hainsworth deal. 10 years,
good one
with Washington.
Hell yeah.
I think it was a $100 million contract, and I think he played a season. Something like that. I mean,
okay, so I was thinking he played 2, Ty. Was it only one that he played?
It might have been 2. I mean, just off the top of my head, I can only maybe 2 seasons.
Yeah, because I thought it was 2, but it wasn't any more than 2.
Right. It wasn't more than 2. And
wow.
A little bit more recently, the John Gruden contract.
Oh,
that he 10 years, $100 million. With the Raiders. That didn't pan out.
Yikes.
That's a bad one. I mean, these are more of like the traditional, like, wow, that didn't fucking pan out.
Right.
And then he got forced out. Gruden got forced out.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he got forced out by his past a little bit, right? Like, I mean, it's all that stuff got leaked, and pretty hard to keep a guy around. No matter what you invest in him.
Can we expound on that a little bit? I mean, who here? Listen, 10 years ago, man, he wasn't even affiliated with the NFL when he said this. And if we're gonna pull that shit, just like Carr said, I agreed before Carr said it. But just like Carr said it, or is this where we're gonna go? Open up all the emails. Get everybody. You know what? Go through everybody's emails. Get the owners. Get the GMs. Get the coaches. You know what? You'll fire 75% of the league. Are you shitting me? You're going to bring up something he said in the email from 10 years ago? Bring up Dan Snyder's email. Let's get into Robert Kraft's email. How about Goodell? Open up Goodell's email. Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
You know what? You'll fire.
I think it was a headhunt.
NFL. That was bullshit. I think he got railroaded. I like John Gruden, but how they sent him packing for such trivial bullshit. I don't agree with it at all.
What a good book! What a good book that would be if you could open up all these guys' emails with the best ones in a book. Holy,
you know what though? Hey, since we're talking about Gruden, which I actually dig this because honestly, your guys' opinion across the board. Do you honestly believe that John Gruden was a top-notch coach? I mean, I know he won the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers, right? He won 1 Super Bowl with the Bucs. And then everybody thought he was God. I enjoyed watching him bust people up and analyze shit on TV way more than I liked him on the sidelines. And I'm not saying he's a bad coach by any means, but God, $100 million?
I think he's got an eye for talent. I think he's got an eye for talent. I think he's a legitimate. I mean, the guy didn't have a whole lot of misses in his drafts. I mean, he was pretty solid.
He's a quarterback guru, more importantly.
Right.
I mean, that's his thing is coaching quarterbacks.
Yeah.
More than anything.
But even more than that, like 10 years, a 10-year contract. And I don't know what the guaranteed money is, right? Because you go off mostly the guaranteed money and then you can cut ties because whatever, right? But 10 years for a guy that had been out of the I mean, yeah, he was an analyst, but he was out of the NFL. Had, like we already said, right? 1 Super Bowl, went to the playoffs with the Raiders. But that was 20 years ago.
Right.
Like just the way I don't know. To me, it just seems like a 10-year deal was such a grab by the Raiders. And that's what I think. Some of these bad contracts that get signed are such a grab by bad organizations. I think a lot of the time more than it is the player that they're signing talent-wise or whatever. Because it's like, a lot of it just comes down to bad organizations reaching, bad organizations that try to make a splash or, and that's why they're bad organizations a lot of the time, right?
Agreed. What about you, Jimmy?
Well, the first one that came to mind, I mean, you guys brought up some really good ones that I didn't even really think about. Gruden, basically because he was a coach, I was thinking more on the lines of players. Hainsworth wasn't, I mean, his contract was high profile, but unless you followed the game, you really didn't. Albert Hainsworth was just another defensive lineman.
Right, right.
The Mike Trout thing was totally another way of thinking. I mean, when you think about his contract, you're like, he's worth it. If anybody in baseball is worth $300 million, he's worth it.
Agreed.
Okay, but when you look at it the way you brought it up, he's absolutely right. It's absolutely right. That's a bad contract by a bad organization. Again, what are they going to do with Ohtani? But the first thing that came to my mind was, I want to say 2002 with the Alex Rodriguez Texas Ranger.
Oh, that's a good one.
So, okay, Jimmy,
that
is very, very Mike Trout-esque before Mike Trout. Same kind of situation.
What that did, nobody had dreamt of that kind of money.
Nobody did.
Nobody.
That was
a standard in Major League Baseball that was bad for baseball at the time.
Yep.
Was it 252 million? Quarter billion.
And it was, but that's unheard of change. Jim's right. When that happened, like it wasn't like money was starting to creep there. It was nowhere in that fucking galaxy. Right. When he got that kind of money, that was uncharted territory, man. Nobody had even fucking, like Jim said, couldn't say it any better. Nobody had even dreamt of that kind of fucking coin.
No. And so I just think, and again, to a bad team, and I'm not sure they've ever recovered from it. There's been a couple decent players in and out of that organization, but the Rangers have never really recovered from it, and they weren't that good when they did that.
Really quick, Jim, do you remember? I want to ask you, was that GM fired before the end of that season, or was it the next season? He was fired really quickly after. It wasn't very long after they signed Alex, where that GM was fucking gone.
I remember, but the problem is that, do you know how long that contract followed him around and was still crazy money?
Right.
For years when he went to the Yankees.
Right.
That was still crazy money to be paid.
Right.
In.
Right.
I mean, $252 million back in the early 2000s.
Jesus.
And right now we're looking at 300 for players like Trout, Harper, Machado.
Right.
Oh man.
I mean, that just blew me away. And why wouldn't he? You know what? In that particular time, and a lot of people get down on A-Rod because he left an organization that was up and coming at the time.
Yeah.
Yes, Griffey left. Randy Johnson was leaving.
Bones was there.
Yeah, but he was getting on in age.
He was
Edgar getting on in age. And I get it. But how could you not take $252 million in the early 2000s?
Yeah.
Well, but also make no mistake, the Players Association, the players themselves, and the agents, that was the best thing that ever happened to them.
Oh my God.
That kind of money being thrown around, because that set the table for the future.
True.
To where, hey, well, A-Rod got it. But you look at A-Rod, that guy, that's exactly like Mike Trout with the Angels. That completely destroyed the Rangers organization. They thought they were going to bring the best player, the best hitter in baseball in, and they were going to go off the rails and get to the World Series. Well, guess what? No, it's a team sport, boys.
Well, a lot of times what those contracts do, when they bring players to your team, what they're hoping is that other free agents will see this. I mean, look at your Mets. Look at how many off season last year.
I'm going there.
Guys were like, well, look, all these guys are going to the Mets. Hey, we had a chance to be in the playoffs, possibly be in the World Series. So I think that's kind of the thinking behind it. We get A-Rod here, and we're going to have other free agents want to come here that we might get at a way better bargain, if you will. If $100 million or whatever can be a bargain. but we're going to get these other free agents to want to come here to contend. I think
you go
that's
back,
what I'm thinking.
yeah, no, if you go back and you look, just A-Rod in general, that team, the Mariners, back when A-Rod and Griffey and everybody was there. Yeah, you had some players that were getting up there, but your pitching was there. If that would have been a better market, a team with more money that they could have spent, I don't know that they would have kept A-Rod, but I guarantee you, had they kept that, been able to keep that team together and add a few key pieces, Mariners, in my mind, would have won a World Series. I mean, there was talent across the board on that team.
But you know what though, it's to me, and maybe this might be kind of a barbaric way of looking at it, but to me, it's really simple. To me, it's just simple math. Okay, if you operate, and I can't imagine Texas operates much more than. I mean, okay, so now I bet you they operate at maybe $120 million salary, maybe 150, up there. But at the time, I bet you they were around $100 million salary. It's got to be close, give or take a little bit. Well, you got a guy that's making 25 of that. So that's a quarter of your salary. And even if you take into account what Jim said, which I'm sure is true, I'm sure that was part of their thinking. Well, we can start attracting free agents. Okay, cool. But you've got $70 million left to fill out your roster. That's for everybody. Pitchers, relief, the rest position players. I mean, that's a problem. If you're not big market, and Texas has never been big market when it comes to baseball. Nope. If you're not big market, Angels aren't big market. I mean, they're not on Boston or New York's payroll. What the hell are you guys doing? Handing out $400, $500 million, whatever they threw Mike Trout. He's making $35 million a year. How are you going to afford to pay anybody else, man? It's simple math. And these guys, these organizations that are not big market, they continue to throw just ludicrous contracts. Man, you deserve what you get.
No, absolutely.
It doesn't make any sense to me, and that A-Rod trade, I'm glad that you brought it up, Jim, because I know you remember we talked about it. But they at the press conference they asked Alex, well, why the trade, or what's your way of thinking? And his comments, I wish you just want athletes to be honest, man. Just tell me. Well, $250 million. I mean, anybody's going to take that.
That's all you got to say.
Nobody would have disagreed to him. But what does he say? Well, it's not about the money. It's not about the. Oh, so what is it, Alex?
I went to Texas
You're going to a last place
win.
fucking team. You're going to a last place team. So tell me, do you have family in Texas? If it's not about the money, what the fuck is it, man? No, it is about the money. Just be honest. Just say it's $250 million. Would you not take it? Okay, cool. Yeah. Let's move on. I don't know.
Yeah, they're giving me a giant fucking check. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, just fucking You say whatever.
It wasn't because I got a better chance to win. It's because you threw the money at me. Of course,
that's interesting, right? Like that's the only how Mike Trout. You bringing that up is really all the other ones that we've brought up have mostly been on the franchise, right? We're like, because that's a dumb fucking contract, but I think that's super interesting. The Mike Trout thing. I mean, that's one of the only few that you can look at the player and go like, no, dude, maybe you have a little bit of part of fucking this up too.
Yeah.
Right? Because mostly bad.
Put it this way, though.
He should have held out.
Put it this way, though.
Just waited for his free agency.
How many Super Bowl rings does Tom Brady have? 7?
7.
7.
Guess who always took less money?
He did.
In his contracts to make sure he had talent around him.
Right.
So he wasn't trying to cash in the A-Rod dollars.
Correct.
He wanted to make sure that this team was going to be good because he's great. He's you got to call him the GOAT. He is, but it's no different than you look at these other franchises. Hell, if they said, "Hey Jim, we want to pay you $300 million to collect golf balls at the golf course 3 days a week," what are you going to do? You say, "No, I like doing my manual labor job." You're not going to skip that shit. It's all about the money, but nobody will ever say it. Now, Jim, you brought up one, and actually it kind of is a tie-in for me. Yeah, I'm a Mets fan, and it sucks, but I am. So in the early 2000s, was it late 90s? When was Ichiro signed? Do you remember when it became like
2000, I think.
Was it 2000?
99 or 2000, something like that. Yeah.
That's what I thought,
99,
2000. So I remember it became like fashionable to sign players from the Japanese league. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
It was. And like teams were going like on a mad dash, like, oh, who can we sign? Who can we bring over? Hideki Matsui. Yeah, well, here's the fun part about that. My fucking Mets. I hate them, but I love them. So it was, what was it, 2004, I believe? Yeah, 2004. They got kind of jumped on the Japanese invasion bandwagon. Oh, we got to go sign one of these Japanese players. So they signed Kaz Matsui, okay, shortstop out of Japan. They signed him. The thing that pisses me off and why this contract, and I thought about all the ones you guys were talking about, this is the one that pissed me off the most because at the time, our shortstop was Jose Reyes. Jose Reyes, arguably the best shortstop that has ever played within the Mets organization. And he was top tier at his peak. So they signed this kid, this Matsui, out of Japan. He's a shortstop. They forced Jose Reyes to move to second base to make room for him. 2 years, $20.1 million. Unproven. And he got here in just less than 3 years within that organization. He hit a whopping 11 home runs. And at shortstop, whereas Reyes might have 4 in a season at that time, 23 errors in 2 years. We're talking the hot box, boys. This is like for the infield, you're the general. This is like the most position in the most important position in the infield. And this guy, because it was really cool. Oh, he didn't hit like Ichiro. He didn't hit like Hideki. He didn't throw like Nomo. I remember Nomo too, way back in the day with the Dodgers.
Oh yeah.
But this guy, and he bounced around a little bit. I mean, he might have ended up doing a couple decent things in that career, but it just pissed me off because Jose Reyes was on track to be like the top shortstop in baseball. And they cut him off at the knees for this guy to the tune of $20 million and said, well, since we're paying him this and it's cool, we signed him from the Japan League, we're gonna give him your spot. So just slide over to second base.
That's
and Reyes and Reyes owned it to second base. You want to make it even worse because Pat and I, you've busted my balls about this before. My New York Mets are still on the books to pay Bobby Bonilla.
You believe that shit? That is so hard to believe.
He is getting $1.1 million a year until 2035.
That's amazing. That is so amazing.
They dumped his ass in what, 2001?
99. I think it's that he hadn't played for the Mets since 99.
Yeah, and they had to waive him. And they had to do this deal because they signed him for stupid money at the time. He still, every year, he smiles and says, hey, thanks, New York. Here's my $1.1 million check.
Every 4th of July. That's so cool.
And that guy was off the field and in the locker room was just a fucking cancer, man. He was not good at all.
Well, how about you bring up that era? How about the Mo Vaughn? How about the Roberto Alomar? It was Alomar. I mean,
Roberto Alomar.
The only thing I could say is the year before they signed Alomar was historically great in the American League. He comes over to the National League and just shit all over himself. And Bobby Valentine took the heat for that, which I disagree. Hey. I mean, it falls on the coach, but I like Bobby Valentine as a manager. I've always liked that guy. But boy, he took it in the ass because he had like 5 all-stars come to his team and just literally get fat, lazy, do nothing, just stunk it up. I mean, what do you do as a manager?
You know what, Bobby V. Fired. Bobby V. I love Bobby V. By the way, Valentine.
Too, man. I thought he was great.
You remember him putting the disguise on because he got ejected from a game and rolling back into the dugout? That's that guy. But no, that's the kind of stupid shit that the Mets have done, and I don't know, man. It's one of those things. Just having to deal with your team sometimes. You want them to succeed. I mean, your jersey, our team is looking pretty good this year. Are they going to screw it up end of the year like they always do? I hope not. We'll see. Nope. I don't think so either. But so anyway, one other thing I was going to ask you guys. like if you go to like, I don't know, a bachelor party, some specialized party for whatever reason, a lot of people there. Is there, and for a lot of people, there might not be one of these. There is for me, but is there one drink that somebody buys for you? Like literally like, hey, I'm going to buy you this cocktail or this shot or whatever it is that you just cringe, but you feel obligated. Like, oh man, I can't be rude here. I'm going to have to take this. My wife's mom bought me this or something, you know, whatever it is, whatever reason it is. Is there a drink out there that you just cringe? And on top of that, is it ever okay? I mean, I'm sure there's circumstances just to refuse a free drink. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, I bought you this shot and it's a good buddy, you know, not somebody trying to be an asshole or pick a fight with you. Is it ever okay to say no? I don't know. Jim, tell me what you think on that.
Well, first off, I would say Jaeger right off the bat would be the one that I would just cringe. And trust me, I have said no plenty of times to no. And
Really?
it is okay. Why do you want to do that to yourself? Why do you want to drink something just, they should have asked you what kind of shot you want.
I agree.
That's fair.
For them just to assume that you're going to drink this piece of shit, it's on them. They'll find somebody else to drink it. Trust me.
Okay, yeah. So Pat has bought shots for me that I have never had before in my life, and maybe I was just dumb enough. Okay, I'll take it, and then that turned into 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then I lose 12 hours of my life. But what do you think, Pat? Anything like that for you out there?
Well, there's one, and people listen to our show might be able to elaborate on this. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but I think they call it Three Kings. You know what that is?
No.
I believe it's Jack, Jim, and I on the tip of my tongue, I think it's Wild Turkey, but it's all three of them in a shot glass. And it is blow chunks all over your Jordans. That's what that is. Nasty shit. What somebody did, we were at a bar one time, and I can't remember what everybody was shooting. I think everybody, we were planning on shooting a shot of Apple Crown. Well, Apple Crown is brown. It looks like whiskey. Well, so does this Three Kings fucking thing. And prior to this shot, I had won a bet. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Jeff. Maybe it was Jeff Locke. It was somebody I had bet, and it was just like I bet you a shot or something. And I can't even remember what the bet was about. But I was talking major shit to him. I was like, oh yeah, you don't know shit. Ha ha! I told you. I tried to tell you. I was talking mad shit. And so I went to go to the bathroom where I was talking to somebody, and so somebody ordered this round of Apple Crown. Well, everybody got Apple Crown, but they got me this fucking Three Kings shit. Ooh. I didn't know because it looked. You couldn't tell it from. They looked just. I mean, they're all brown. You can't tell it was different. So everybody just kind of eyeballing me. I didn't think anything. So we all threw it back, and I held that shot in my mouth. And looking at everybody, and everybody's just rolling. Everybody slammed theirs. They're rolling and pointing and fucking, and I got this shit in my mouth. And I thought, do I spit this shit out? And I swallowed it. Oh, God, it was the nastiest. I don't know, so you start wondering, okay, obviously this is a shot because it's called Three Kings. What kind of sad sack, a piece of shit, actually goes into a bar and orders this fucking thing?
Yeah.
Like I feel like you should pour kerosene over your head and light a fucking match, man. If that's what you think is good, what the fuck is the matter with you? Just horrible, but nastiest fucking shot. And knowing
now you didn't refuse it though, did you?
Oh,
I know you won the bet.
I didn't refuse it because I didn't know what the fuck it was. I thought I was drinking Apple Crown like everybody else.
Now, but had you known, would you still have taken it?
No, fuck no. What? No. No. Absolutely, you fucking go step on a Lego, you fucking drink it, and I'll laugh at you as it goes down. That's how that, yeah, fuck that. Nope.
What about you, Tyler? You got anything like that?
That's definitely something that, like, as you get older, it becomes okay, I think.
Absolutely.
Like when you're young, you start going to the bar and stuff. I don't think anybody turns down a shot until I don't know, 30 until you're 30 maybe.
Yeah, mid-30s.
Yeah, right? Like I there comes a point where if somebody says, "Oh, hey, Pat, by the way, I got a round of Three Kings coming." Like, no, absolutely no, for what reason? And especially now that I can afford to buy my own shots.
Jesus.
And maybe that was it too, is that, when you're younger, don't have as much money and shit, you're okay, yeah, whatever it is.
Free is key.
I think as you get older, it's definitely more and more acceptable to go.
And it's funny you bring up age. It's funny you bring up age, Ty, because I don't know about you guys, but when I get hungover, half of my week is shot, and I'm not even fucking joking. Like Wednesday, I start getting color back in my cheeks, man. That's 3 days on a fucking hangover, and you know what? It's just not that important to me anymore, man.
Well, and the thing is, though, that's why I stick to beer. Because those rare nights when I get talked into a shot. So, and the one shot that I would avoid is the one that Jim actually, I think, really appreciates. Ouzo. I can't stomach it, man. It makes me want to throw up. As soon as it hits that licorice taste, I can't do it. Ouzo's the absolute worst.
Is Ouzo black licorice? Is that what it tastes like?
It's exactly what it tastes like, and it's just got this weird black licorice burn. Jimmy, you said you like Ouzo.
Not really Ouzo. I like that black. It tastes more like black jelly beans.
Ah, okay. Well, I was thinking you were talking about Ouzo because that stuff is just gnarly.
Isn't Zambuca like that?
That's what it is.
Zambuca.
It's black Zambuca.
No thanks.
That's a hard fucking pass for me.
Is there a beer? Is there a beer, Lee, that if somebody, because I think that's a little bit maybe more of a universe, like it's easier to hit on that if buying somebody a beer. You know what I mean? So, I think that one's a little bit harder to miss.
Well, it is. The problem is, and Pat kind of hit on this too, because it does have a lot to do with age. Because you get older, you drank a lot in your life, and you have learned the things that really hurt and the things that you can manage. The one beer, and I used to drink this religiously. I know, Ty, you like your Busch Light, but I used to drink Bud Light like it was going out of style.
Fuck.
And
that's
Budweiser.
The one. Yeah, Bud Light was the one for me that's a hell no.
Yeah.
And you know what the tough part about it is, though, is back in the day when Pat and I were young and Jim and I were young, I mean, you bought the cheapest, grossest beer, because I remember I used to buy 12 packs of Lucky Lager for $2.49 for a 12 pack. Hell, they used to have generic beer.
Yeah, it just says beer on it. It just says freaking beer.
It's a white can, black letters.
Yeah, beer.
But anyway, no, as far as beer, I would never turn down a beer. What I found out about Budweiser, and I don't know, I mean, someone was trying to tell me this because they actually use rice in the brewing process for Budweiser. I don't know, but always gives me a headache. I mean, I don't care if I have three cans of regular Bud, I got a headache the next day. And it's not because I got shitty drunk on it. It's just something about it, man. I just couldn't do it anymore. So then I got into micros and everything else.
Have either one of you, any of you, have you ever drank? I think they still make it. It's called Molson Ice. You guys remember that? Have you ever seen that Molson Ice?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So back when I was, and I haven't been a beer drinker for several years, but back when I was big into drinking beer, I believe it was the first time I was down in Arizona. Somebody brought Molson Ice, like a lot of it, brought like a couple cases, 24 packs, and I got lit up on Molson Ice, and I've never been sicker in my life. Next day, I mean, just miserable. That's all I drank. I didn't have shots. I didn't drink hard liquor. Just from credit to credit, just Molson Ice, and I've never been more hungover in my life. And you couldn't get me to drink one of them fucking things for all the rice in China now. There's no way. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the I'm telling you, though, it had to be something with that beer because that was just, and it was kind of high in alcohol. I remember at the time, I think it was 5%.
Yeah. The
Yeah, I
ice,
was
the
gonna
ice
say,
beers are
the
definitely higher.
Ice beers are generally they're higher.
Oh, nasty. Yep.
Oh yeah, I couldn't do it. But no, like Bud Platinum's kind of the same thing. But that's one thing you got to do, like, because I drink micros now. You know, I'm big into craft breweries. You got to be careful. You start looking at some of the percentages on these things.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I had an Imperial IPA that was 12.1%. I mean, we're talking wine, man. Like, and it was in a bomber, a 22-ounce bottle. Amazing. But guess what? I'm only drinking one of those. Can't do it. But all right, guys. So one other thing, you know, that I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about, because Pat and I, we joke about this a lot. The absolute in your mind, and it doesn't have to be current. It can be someone from before that doesn't do it anymore. In your mind, who's the one, like, announcer, play-by-play guy, analyst, TV personality, talking sports, that you think is the absolute worst? Like, how do they even have a job, and how the hell are they getting paid for this? Because I got a bunch, but I'm just curious what you guys think on that one. I'm gonna let you fire off on that one first, Tyler.
It's a guy that is entertaining, I think, but a little bit maybe over the top. It's Bill Walton for me. I don't watch a ton of basketball, but games that I've watched with him calling them, guy goes off on just the craziest tangents about shit so unrelated to the game he's watching. It's hard to keep up with him a little bit sometimes. I mean, if that's what you tune in and you know you're getting, maybe that's one thing. But to listen to him, you know, talk about what's going on during the game and stuff, and instead of that, he's talking about goddamn rocket ships or fucking space and time, and you're like, dude, what the fuck? How much did you smoke? And I bet it's a lot. You know, that you're like, this is going off the fucking rails in a hurry here.
Hey, fun story about Bill Walton. He is a huge Deadhead, Grateful Dead fan. So you got to believe that homeboy has participated in some psychedelics in his day, and he's hard to follow. You're right.
Yeah.
100% hard to follow. What do you think, Jim? You got anybody out there that just annoys the shit out of you?
Yeah, very simple for me. And there's two of them, and they're usually on the same broadcast. And that's Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. They're just straight up. And sorry, guys, anybody that likes them out there, straight up, I guess the only word I can use is tools. They just, Troy Aikman, nobody has ever played the game as well as him. He very, very seldom compliments anybody within the game. But he will be the first one to say how bad this play was and not have any issue mentioning the guy's name. You know, and Joe Buck, honestly, I just think he doesn't know enough about it, except for the games that maybe he's broadcast, to really give a shit what he says. And so you got Aikman who is supposed to be this expert, but apparently he's just too good.
Yeah, of course.
Call a game without making it about him. That's just the way I see it. Making it about him and saying some crazy shit, you know. Wasn't it those two when flyovers? On one of the football games, they had the flyovers.
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't it those two that got hot mic'd by saying, why are we spending all the money on this?
I can't remember that. I
think it was. No, I remember that, and I think it was.
Pretty sure it was Aikman and Buck that did that.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Aikman. I don't know about Buck.
And it was during a baseball.
Right.
Or no, maybe it was just Joe Buck when it doing baseball. I don't know. But
Joe
yeah.
Buck is you were being very nice just by calling him a tool.
Yeah.
Can't stand Joe Buck.
Yeah, these two
Yeah.
just, I don't know, they just really, and then a lot of people talk about Romo. I particularly like Tony Romo. He's just a lot more humble. He doesn't have a problem complimenting the game within the game or the players within the game.
No, and Romo's pretty popular. A lot of people like him. You know?
Yeah.
Hey, I would actually, because you brought up Aikman, who I agree is a complete and total tool, but I love Tony Romo calling a football game. This guy, and he was never on Troy Aikman's level, okay, as far as a player. He was a good quarterback, but he wasn't quite that level, right? But this guy, when you actually listen to him call a football game, he's calling plays out and defenses out before the ball snapped. I mean, he's seen it on the field. That's how smart he is. I honestly believe Tony Romo could potentially become a really good coach someday if he ever wanted to get into it. I think he's smart as hell.
Offensive coordinator, maybe.
Yeah,
offensive coordinator. Yeah,
I think so. What about you, Pat? Who do you love to hate when it comes to that?
There's two of them. If I wasn't a St. Louis Cardinals fan, maybe it wouldn't bother me so much. But Jimmy Edmonds, he's one of them.
Oh,
and sometimes, who is the Dodgers announcer that just recently died? That guy had a gift. You know what I'm talking about?
Vince Scully.
I love Vince Scully.
Vince Scully.
One thing I love about Vince Scully is that Vince Scully, one of the things, there's so many things, but one of the things that made Vince Scully so great is he wasn't afraid to let the game marinate. You know what I mean? What I mean by that is he wasn't afraid for there to be a moment of silence. Like, he ain't going to be talking all the fucking time, right? Just let there be a little bit of silence, and let the fans enjoy, taking in the game, and you don't, it doesn't have to be 24, nonstop commentation. Jimmy Edmonds just shut the fuck up for 5 seconds, man. I mean, it's just times where, he should just, give it just let the fucking game marinate for 5 seconds. No, it's just, and it's annoying. And, he gets a pass because a lot of Cardinals fans love Jimmy Edmonds and what he did when he was in uniform, but it does. It gets fucking annoying. You're just like, God. And you know what? There's times I'm, on some of these St. Louis Cardinal message boards, and fans are saying it. Well, does Jim Edmonds know how to STFU for 5 damn seconds? Seriously. And it's annoying, man. It's just like, God, just a break, man. You're fucking killing me. So he's annoying. The other one, and he only did it for 1 year, but to me, it was really annoying, and that's why he only did it for 1 year, because I don't think a lot of fans appreciate him. Who was that? Dennis Green, that comedian? Was that his name? Yeah. Dennis Green, the beard? Everything was a fucking punchline. That's what he tried to put that coverage was tighter than a sumo wrestler wearing biking shorts. Come on, man. Just call the fucking game.
Is it Dennis Miller?
Dennis Miller.
Dennis Miller from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, but in the first couple of Monday night games he did it was moderately comical. But then as the season goes on, and every analogy he's got to try to make it funny, it just got annoying after a while. It just just call the fucking game, man. Just not everything. He tried to just make everything a punchline, and it just got annoying. It wasn't funny. It just go away, and that's why he only spent 1 year doing it. So,
oh yeah, okay. So I got a couple, and other than my personal hatred for them, because the first one is just his delivery. Now, also having to follow a legend didn't help him. Chris Collinsworth. Chris Collinsworth is like watching paint dry. Like, he played. He was a wide receiver, and I get all that. But this guy, I'll mute the TV when he's talking just to watch the game. Or I'll dial out literally like a radio broadcast from the local, team. That guy, I don't know, man. I think it's because, when you got Madden and you're trying to follow and do the thing, I mean, that's impossible. Nobody can do that. And I get it. But that guy, I can't even stand to watch him. But he's around, and he's going to be around. It's his gig. The other one.
And to think, Lee, real quick, how much better he's gotten over the years.
That's the sad part.
Yeah, because
I
when it
can't-
first started,
I know. I can't get over it though, because you're right. I shouldn't probably be so mean to him, but the other one, Pat and I have joked about this guy forever. And I really want Pat to jump in on this one because he's got it all. Chris Sims. Does anybody know how many years did Chris Sims play? Actual play
I
football.
think it was only like 4 or 5. It wasn't very many.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, his claim to fame is, oh, Phil Sims is my dad. My dad won a Super Bowl.
That's it. That's all he's got was Phil was his daddy, and so therefore I'm great.
And he's out, and he has been over the last whatever years, saying some of the most outrageous things that you just scratch your head like, what? He didn't. Jared Stidham, you remember that one, Pat?
Oh yeah. The Patriots quarterback that
Yeah.
he came out the year that Tua was drafted, came out and said Jared Stidham is a substantially better and more proven quarterback than Tua will ever be in his entire career. Fact.
And the fun part is
he's buried on. I think the Patriots traded him at the beginning of this year to the Saints or some NFC team. He's buried on the depth chart somewhere. So I want somebody to stick a microphone in Chris Sims' face and say, "Hey, Jared Stidham, tell me about him being better than Tua."
tell me about tell me about that prediction.
Yeah.
there was no grand prediction. No, but that guy, and the funny thing is he got the job because of his name. Let's be real.
Yeah.
He failed in the league. I mean, he got there, so you got to give him a little bit of credit. I mean, he did get paid to play football in the NFL, and he failed. But again, because of his daddy, he's on TV and he's an analyst, and he says some shit. But the funny thing is, and Pat and I were just talking about this with Sterling Sharp. When Shannon Sharp, sorry. When they actually call stuff out, and then a year or two later, act like they didn't even say it, or they try to write it off like, well, I didn't really mean it, or back then it was a whole different. No, man, if you're going to call somebody dog shit, and a year later they're great, and somebody says, "Do you remember you called him dog shit?" Well, no, own it, man. These guys got to own this stuff when they do it.
Well, and generally what happens is they write it off to, well, he's a completely different player than he was. No, the fuck he isn't. You're just a dipshit and said something fucking wrong, man. He's the same fucking guy. Just you know what? Just say, you know what? I said something, and from my projection, this is what I thought, but clearly, I didn't have all the information, or just I was fucking wrong, man. Well, no, I don't regret saying it because this guy is completely evolved. No, the fuck he hasn't, man. No, he hasn't. You're just a fucking idiot.
And the other one, like we were talking, like the one guy that gets busted a lot when he was an announcer was Joe Morgan. You remember Joe? Big Red Machine, Joe Morgan from the Reds. Joe Morgan didn't have like a really in-your-face, out-there dynamic personality that drew you in just for that. But I remember watching him call some games, and the pitch is thrown, and he's like, slider spin. What? Like, he didn't get in depth. He saw from the screen the spin of the ball, labeled it a slider. Sure as shit, slider. Boom, guy strikes out. The sheer knowledge of some of these guys, like Tony Romo, the fact that they are that smart, and whether they were an elite player or not, that they can do that, it's pretty impressive. And Joe Morgan was that guy for me. He'd call out some crazy stuff. I'm just like, how did you see that? I can't see that. If I record this and pause the screen, I can't see slider spin on that ball, but you saw that? And he did. But a lot of people used to bust him up because, he didn't have the most grandiose personality or whatever. But you want to talk about somebody that knows X's and O's and exactly what's happening in a game, what managers are thinking, he was your guy. And that's why I give Tony Romo a lot of credit.
That's what color and analysts are supposed to do.
Absolutely. Well, hey, guys, I want to thank everybody that's been here and for you guys hanging out. And if anyone watches this, listens to it, always know that you can find us on Facebook at Cocktails and Curveballs on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you have a question, a thought, comment, anything, hit us up at email at cocktailsandcurveballs@gmail.com. One thing I think we like to do on the show, boys, I know we do, is a curtain call to kind of round out the show. Something that we want to give some props to end of the day. And I think we'll go around the horn, and we'll start with you, Pat. You got a curtain call today?
I do. So I would like to kind of get a pat myself on the back here, but I'm patting an entire industry on the back. You mentioned earlier in the show, it's been really cold in Montana. Roads have been almost unbearable to drive on. And with that, it's not so much the roads, because if you do it year after year after year, it's like anything else. You get used to it. You know how to drive on the roads. It's not a big deal. The problem lies is that Montana has had an influx of a lot of people from out of state that have never probably even seen snow, much less drive on it. So if people out there don't know, I drive semi-tractor and trailer for a living. That's what I do for a living. I've done it for a long time now. I'm pretty accomplished. You know, have gone on a 12, 14 year safe driver. You know, I haven't had any accidents, nothing. And I feel like I am 100% comfortable, confident, and consistent with driving on roads. I never have any issues. The problem is all these out-of-state drivers that make it really tough for CDL drivers to deliver freight and goods to companies and everything else. We got to deal with all these drivers that oftentimes don't know what they're doing. So my shout out just goes out to all the freight delivery drivers, reefer drivers, tanker drivers, these CDL drivers that have to drive on these roads day after day and worry about these complete buffoons that have never even seen snow, much less drive on it. Because I can't even begin to tell you how many times during the day I almost just want to pull my foot off the brake and just run right through a car that just for whatever reason decided to stop in the middle of an intersection and look at the pretty birds. I don't know what they're doing. Doesn't matter. Point is that there's some just idiot drivers. You'd think they'd be more careful on these bad roads. That's not true. So hats off to all the CDL drivers that have to drive on horrible roads around people that probably shouldn't be driving ever. So
Cheers. Okay. What about you, Tyler? You got something for us?
Yeah. You know, for as much bad as social media, all of, you know, every platform, as much bad as there is on those, I think one positive takeaway is like I personally have friends on social media that I've only met in person once, in some cases once. And I think when in social media is used right, like a cool person that you see their life unfold, you know, somebody you've been friends with on Facebook, let's say for 10 years that you met one time, watching their lives unfold, you know, is something that I'd like to give a shout out, I guess, to social media for having one positive thing about it.
Okay. All right, Jim, what's up with you, buddy? You got a good curtain call for us?
Well, buddy, I'm going to tell you, as much shit as I've given the NFL over so many things this year and stuff, I've got to say after the season, what's going on, I think the NFL has achieved parity. A lot of good games, and it literally is becoming an any given Sunday league. Teams that aren't generally contenders are contenders. Divisions which have generally been weak year after year after year are now strong. Some of the strongest in football. So however they did it, and I don't know, I don't have the answers. However they did it, the NFL, I think, is achieving that any given Sunday league that it doesn't matter if it's just your favorite team playing. You just want to watch a football game. And so there's my shout out is to the NFL and the people behind the scenes that are making this happen. The real joy to watch this year.
Hey, I agree with you 100%.
A good one. And
It
I
is,
agree with that
because
100%.
I have watched. I mean, Tom Brady's 5-5 right now. I mean, and you're like, well, how? What's happening? And you've got divisions now. Holy, that are just insane. So that's a great shout out. I appreciate that. Good curtain call.
Yep.
I'm gonna kind of tail off of last week a little bit here, boys, because this was kind of a big one for me. I had curtain call last week about college athletes. I got to do it again. And this is strictly a personal thing for me because I got to experience my son's last ever college football game yesterday. And they came out with a big win. He played amazing. But as much as you get excited for your child, you walk onto that field and all of the seniors, I know all of those kids. And just the emotion, raw emotion that they know that's probably the last time they're lacing up the cleats. They're not going to be able to play professionally. They're not going to be able to do that ever again. So losing that whole team atmosphere and that group dynamic. And I, obviously it being my son, I was happy that they did so well. But if I were to sit here and tell you that I wasn't, raining from my eyes, I'd be lying because it was that emotional. But to all these people, these kids that do this and they bust it in and out and they leave it on the field, knowing full well that it comes to an end. And that just happened yesterday. So I will give my curtain call to all those athletes that know, holy hell, that was my last round. And they know they're not going to see another one. So that's my curtain call for them. I'd like to cheers to all that, boys. Yeah. And once again, as we cheers to our curtain calls, if you want to find us, please look us up on Facebook, Cocktails and Curveballs. Find us on Instagram, Cocktails and Curveballs, and email us any comments, concerns, questions, whatever, at cocktailsandcurveballs@gmail.com. Thank you guys very much. Have a great night. Thank you, boys.
Cheers.
And there we go. Yeah, that was the only tough